What's up on my screen right now is the workshop sign-in that you filled out. I'm not showing your name, so don't panic if you haven't filled this out. This just is a quick overview when you fill out a Google form that it lets me know what you guys hope to gain from today's workshop and where your comfort level is using the Google tools. So as you can see, we've got some people who are comfortable with using the Google tools. They want to be more comfortable out there, how to use Google Classroom more efficiently. So anything, so perfect. Hopefully we can meet everyone's needs today. And then we will be sharing some Google updates that Google just came out with yesterday as well. And then if I go over here to look at all of the tools, Google Drawings, usually people are newbies at, so if we have time, if anybody wants me to go over Google Drawings, I can. And then if I go over here to Google Classroom, a lot of people who are comfortable, solid. So the newbies in the group, again, if you feel overwhelmed at any time, remember to breathe. We'll help you. Feel free to put your questions in the chat room. And you know, the evaluations that I get from these workshops, some people say, oh, they need more time. You know, Google Classroom can easily be a 4 to 6 hour or even over a couple days workshop. Some people say, oh, they knew all of this stuff already. They didn't need this. So again, you do what you need to do to try to learn as much as you can today. Whether you know, if we were even face-to-face and I could see all of you at once, I would say feel free to go ahead and look at the slide deck and, you know, work ahead if you already know what we're talking about. So, and then also looking at Google Meet, again, I've got some newbies in here, but a lot of people who says they're okay with it or they're comfortable with it. So again, everyone's at different places and they're learning, just like in the classroom, right? So, all right, we will go ahead and get started, but I always like this sign-in sheet to kind of see who my audience is and what knowledge you have. Yeah, so welcome back. I'm glad to see a lot of familiar faces and names out there. So the sign-in sheet, I put in the chat room there, and then I've got the slide deck there as well. I also have the sign-in sheet on the slide deck. So one thing that I have found with, you know, remote learning, doing these virtual workshops with teachers, if you can have different things in multiple places throughout your lesson, that helps because again, people, you know, are getting this information at different times and people, just how we process information. So I also have it here on the slide deck in slide number 2, I have the sign-in sheet as well. So if you've been with me before in one of my workshops, it's, you know, how I go about doing that. If you haven't, here's the agenda for today. I will talk about, do a quick Google overview. Questions, I want you to ask questions throughout the training today. One nice thing about this workshop is we do have smaller numbers. I know some of you have been in workshops with me where we've had 100, 200 people in there, so it was kind of hard to unmute and communicate. So here, so far we're under 30 people, so feel free. This workshop is about you, trying to meet you where you are with your Google Classroom needs. We will talk about Google Meet and Google Classroom. Again, some of you who are newbies, you might say that I'm not going going in depth with Google Classroom. If you're a newbie, try to take in and get some things from today, but I will suggest that you go to one of my YouTube videos out there and look at Introduction to Google Classroom workshop. Again, for any newbies out there, what you can do here is this slide deck that you have, you can save this to, you can add the shortcut to your drive or save it as a bookmark. So what do I mean by that? If I go to another account of mine, let me pull this one over and There we go. And if I go to a new tab here, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to just paste the URL in for the slide deck. Oh, I did the sign-in sheet. Let me go back and do the slide deck. And so real quick here, to add this to your shortcut drive, all you have to do to add this shortcut to your drive is come up here where it has the triangle and the plus sign. Mine's still loading here. And then I can add it to my drive. So if I click on that, and again, my drive is like a file cabinet. I can just put it in there if I want. If I want to organize it, I can click on the arrow and it takes me to some different folders here. If I don't see the folder that I want to put it in, I can come right here to this icon that says new folder. So click on that and then type in the name of your new folder. Click on the check mark here to create it, and you can add the shortcut there. So what that allows you to do is then you can go back and access it later. If you don't use your Google Drive much, you could always click on the star right here and you can bookmark this tab. You can put this on your bookmark bar. Again, you could even put it in a folder. So it depends on your organization of how you want to either bookmark it or put it in Google Drive. And then the workshop sign-in, again, this is very similar to if you've been with us before, it's the same one. It's what you need to sign in to. So this is it. Yeah, Katie, we'll help you. Don't panic. I'll go ahead and put in chat all of the links that you can access then. So again, if you are new here, welcome, we're glad you're here. If you click here on slide 4, I've got a link to my YouTube channel. And with the YouTube channel here, this is where I do put all of the recordings. So feel free to go and access this. I've got several different introduction to Google Classroom and Meet that you can watch. It just depends on, you know, anytime you teach something similar and on different days could be different, and it could be different depending on the audience and what questions they ask. So you can go to my YouTube channel here, and one thing that it's been neat, this YouTube channel is brand new for me. I had never really used it before, and I am getting to connect with people worldwide. So people will reach out to me that they've watched this from all across the world, and sometimes even they reach out and they need some help. So this morning I just got off of a Zoom meeting with a teacher from Pennsylvania who had been preparing for the Google Level 1 certification. She took the exam and she passed. So if that's something that you're interested in and we don't have a live workshop, again, you can take a look at one of the recordings on the Google Level 1 prep to help you with that. Sometimes we don't, as educators, we don't think, oh, we're good enough or smart enough to do this. And it's nice to have an accountability partner or someone to help us, you know, give us that little extra boost to help us along the journey. So if you don't know what the Google Level 1 or Level 2 exams are, feel free to reach out to me, let me know, or feel free to start looking at some of the recordings here. If you want to subscribe to my channel, you can. When you subscribe to a channel, you will get notifications of when things are, when I add different workshops. So you don't have to, but that's if you wanted to know a little bit about subscriptions. So what's been neat, I've got 399 subscribers. So anybody going to be my 400th subscriber out there? All right. So that's the YouTube channel here. And then Holly, are you on with us?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, perfect.
Hi.
Hey, Holly. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's Holly Kelly. I'm here with Lisa. I'm another RETC for the LTC, a lot of letter acronyms there. I have the LTC East area of Illinois, so you can kind of see my territory here. My contact information is there as well. My phone number is being updated as I have a different state area code, so we're getting myself a 217. I'm
Okay.
fairly new to the LTC team. I'm super excited. I love LTC. What got me involved was I was in your shoes within the last 3 years, really exploring options and trying to learn Google and different platforms. And I became really familiar with the LTC, and now here I am working with them. So I'm super excited to be here. I'm going to help with the chat and then just kind of interject if Lisa needs some help or if there's a question or vice versa. So feel free to reach out anytime, and happy to help you guys. Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Holly. And we're glad to have you. Yeah, she joined. This is her second weekend, and we've kind of thrown her in, and she did her first workshop all by herself yesterday, and she did wonderful. So we're glad to have her because originally she took part of my area, which is nice because it's just, if you see right here, I'm located on the western side of the state. So it was a long haul to get over all the way to the eastern side, but it was still nice. Made some good connections and friendships with people on the eastern side. So a little bit about me real quick. This is my 22nd year in education, and I taught 19 years in Quincy Public School District, teaching 6th through 9th grade, and a variety of different subjects. Majority of the time I did teach computers and computer science, and it was a Microsoft platform. The last couple of years of teaching, I did incorporate Google and was like you, trying to learn the Google platform with my students. And I told them, hey, learning this with you, they saw me not only as a teacher, but as a learner as well. And I will tell you, I made lots of mistakes. Do I still make mistakes? I do, but I learn from them. So that's how we learn. So don't be hard on yourself when you're learning some of this new technology. Hopefully you've got some good people, surround yourself with some smart people around you to help you on your journey here. So currently working as a regional ed tech coordinator for the Learning Technology Center. And here's my new area right here in this green. So I'm glad to be here with you guys. Here on slides 7 and 8, again, that goes into more about the LTC. If you want more opportunities, feel free to click on some of those different links. And then here on slide 9, for anyone who is new to the Google environment, what you want to do is to make sure you're logged into Chrome, because when you're logged into the Chrome web browser, then you can access all of the Google Chrome apps out there that integrate together. So if you come up here to the right-hand side of the screen to your picture, or maybe it's your letters, what you might want to do is add different people. So I have my personal account added. I have another school account. I've got a student account here with the LTC. So I've got a few different Google accounts. So the reason to do that is so that I don't add Google accounts to my work profile. As you can see here, I have those. I have those there just to show you that when you are in when I'm in my work Google profile, I don't want to be in my personal Google account or my other school Google account that I have. The main reason for that is sometimes if you're logged into multiple Google accounts right here, it could, even though if I log into my personal Google account under my work Chrome profile, it could save to my work Chrome account, my Google account, instead of my personal account. Again, if this doesn't make sense to you, don't panic. If you go to find something and you can't find it and you know you had it, maybe go click on these links about learning about the Chrome profiles and how to manage multiple Google accounts. So has that happened to anyone out there yet? And it makes sense now? All right. Well, if so, put it in chat if you have any questions or comments about that. We will be talking, you might be hearing us say the words apps and extensions. Click on apps versus extensions here, and this will give you a table that talks about apps versus extensions. And again, even working with students with some of this technology, this may be good to share out with them to let them know about the differences there as well. So with Google Classroom today, I first want to start off by talking about some of the updates that Google came out with yesterday. So if you click on this link right here on slide 13, this will talk about some of the updates. And if you click on it, it takes you to this web page. And as you can see, they published it yesterday. Google kicked off their global back to school event. It is today as well. So if you want to watch some of it live, there's a spot you can register and watch some of the sessions live today as well. But let me just jump down here to with the Google Classroom. We'll come back up and talk about Google Meet here in a little bit. But some of the changes. So if you start looking right here, this talks about the changes. Here on the slide deck, I've got on the Classroom tab. So we've got to-do widgets for upcoming work now going to be pushed out on the Classroom tab. There's going to be an easier way for our students to join classes. Another thing here is the originality reports. This is also called the plagiarism report. And I think on Google Classroom, we see both. It says plagiarism report and then maybe originalities in parentheses. Right now, you can only run it in Google Docs. They're going to add that so it can be run in Google Slides. They're going to allow you to save, print, and download the reports. And then with those reports, you can share those out. Another key thing here is if you have the enterprise account. So Google has two different versions of Google. They have the free version, which most of us are on. And then they have the enterprise account. The enterprise account has a fee, and we're seeing that they're pushing out more features to the enterprise account. So with our free account, we have 5 originality reports we can run with our free account. With the enterprise account, if anybody has that, it is unlimited. I will say a majority of the people do have the free account. That's what I have, the free account. So there are some workarounds how to work around the 5 originality reports, and I'll talk about that here in a minute as well. But so with the enterprise account only, if you see people talk about how they can check for plagiarism from other students' work, whether it was this year, last year, there's an algorithm, they've got a program that will run to check other students' work. That will only be allowed through the enterprise account. So if you have the free account like me, you won't have that access to that. Also, they are pushing out more languages that Google Classroom will support. So up to 54, and then they said they're continuing to add more languages to that as well. So if I go into Classroom.
Hey, Lisa. It's
Yeah.
Holly here. Really quickly, to know if you have the enterprise account, if some of you are curious, when you sign on to your Chromebooks, when your student pulls up a Chromebook in their classroom, and on the main page, it says it's already formatted there where they enter like their name, and then it'll say their @ and the rest of the email. That means that those computers, that program has been enterprise, that you have that enterprise account. So if you're curious as to whether or not your school has it, that's one quick way without having to ask. So.
Okay. Hey, thank you so much. Any questions about the enterprise account for Holly or how to check? Okay. So if I go into the Classroom here for the originality reports, if I go into classwork and create an assignment, this is where the originality report is, on the very bottom right here. And they have it check plagiarism or originality. So originally when they pushed this out, it was just called originality report. They've since changed it to plagiarism, but still on some of the updates, you're seeing them call it the originality report. So if you click here, you can learn more. Right now, if you go out there and try it, it's letting you say that it can run 3 reports, but with the new update as of yesterday, you're going to get 5 reports. So these updates haven't been pushed out to Classroom yet, so we'll see when they get pushed out. I would think here, I've seen some of the updates saying that they'll be pushed out here by the end of August, and some updates will be pushed out in September. And then Sarah's asking, what does Google offer for different languages? Yeah, if you just go into here, it will let you know. As far as the originality reports, we only have a few languages that it can be translated in. But as far as Google Classroom, the 54 languages, if you just go out there and Google it, you can see the list of languages there. So again, they're constantly trying to improve this and work on it. The other thing here, if you look here at this update, this web page right here was linked from this slide deck here, and it's the August 11th update. That will take you here to this web page. Okay, so then on this web page, you can see they've got a little GIF here showing you about the what do they call it? The widget, the to-do widget that you can see. So they kind of had this in a different place. They had it in the main menu. Now Google's moved it over here. This goes more in depth about how you can join the classes. Okay, it talks about originality reports or plagiarism. So if you see, either originality or plagiarism, know that those two words kind of go hand in hand, are interchangeable. On the back end, if you're a Google admin for your district, there's going to be more tools out there for you as well. So any questions about some of these new updates? I know you might have to go through that a little bit more. Okay, so Google Meet. Again, some of you have used Google Meet. I'm going to talk about the updates here real quick. If you scroll back up the same document that was linked on the update, again, some of the Meet features will be in the free account. Some are going to be pushed to the enterprise account, and usually it will tell you. So right here on this, it's saying that this is launching in September, launching in October, launching later this year. But if you look at this bullet right here, attendance tracking, this will be for the enterprise account. Don't panic. There is an extension out there that you can use to keep track of your attendance. So one less thing that you have to do. So even though you don't have an enterprise account, there's extensions out there that will allow you to do this. So as you can see, this one launching in October, this blur or replace backgrounds, that would be pushed out to your Google account. There's going to be a larger tiled views, so you can see up to 49 students. Hopefully we don't have that many in a classroom, but in case if you do, you can see them all at once, okay? They're also going to integrate Jamboard into Meet. You can still use Jamboard right now. It's a digital whiteboard, and you just share your screen when you're presenting and working with Jamboard, but they're integrating it into Meet. So as you can see, launching later this year, another one, this hand raising activity here. Again, some of you who were on earlier with the Google Meet and Classroom, the introduction, we did that. You saw that there was a hand raising extension out there. So even though Google isn't putting this into Meet until later this year, you could still use that extension now. So right here, you can record with Google Meet. The premium recordings will still be part of the enterprise account, but they are going to launch temporary recordings for everyone later this year. So, and that's what's nice about this with Google Meet. As soon as you start using it and you do a recording, it integrates nicely with your Google Drive. So if I go over to my Google Drive and I look at my folders here, and you might want to take a look at your Google Drive too if you've ever recorded on Google Meet. It puts in the recordings for me in my Google Drive. So right here, I've got my Meet recordings. And again, Google created that folder. And every time I do a recording on Google Meet, the recording will go here in this folder for me. And, you know, looking through this slide deck here, again, here's some of the features that Google Meet has available to them right now. Very similar to Zoom, but what's nice about Google Meet is that it's integrated also with your Google Classroom. If you look here on slide 16, here's some links to updates. You can see how Google Meet has been updated. They're pushing out updates every month to Google Meet. Here's some August updates, upcoming updates that they have, and then the updates that they pushed out yesterday. And that's where I just showed you on this website. And again, you can create a Google Meet from your calendar, from your Gmail, or the primary way where you will use Google Meet is in Classroom with your students. So if you go into your Classroom, you should have a Google Meet link right here. If you don't have this right there, where do you go to turn that on? Feel free, someone can unmute or put it in chat. Where do you turn on the Google Meet link if you don't see it? Or if students don't see it?
If my memory serves me correct, the settings gear, and then you can scroll down and you're able to turn that on.
Yep, Mindy, your memory serves you correct. Perfect. So what Mindy just said, up in the gear. So let me go to it again. The gear, what Mindy said in the upper right-hand corner, if you click on that and then you scroll down, and right here you can make it visible to students. And Mindy, can I make it visible to students all the time, or do I need to turn it off? Do you remember that?
We can make it all the time because they've allowed it now where the teacher, nobody can enter until the teacher does.
Perfect. All right. See, you're learning a lot this summer. Yep, and other people put there in the settings, so perfect. All right, so
the biggest thing I gathered from yesterday, listening to the Google updates that were being pushed out. So if you guys have ever used Zoom, it seems as though Google Meets is really starting to try to align with Zoom. So Zoom is obviously a company that all they work with is video conferencing, where Google has a plethora of platforms that we use across the board. But from yesterday, that wave in Zoom, if you've used it, how you can wave your hand, or raise your hand rather, those background options. So really in the big scheme of Meet, from what I gathered, Lisa, you can kind of agree or disagree. It really seems like they're taking on some of those Zoom features, which is really nice because that means Google's really listening to us. And the nice thing about Meet is it is cross-accessible. We can get to it in many different areas of our classroom. We can share that link to students, even for the little ones, if they don't know where their muscle memory is, where to go in classroom. So, but yeah, that just has a synopsis, Lisa, to that from what I gathered. So you guys can kind of, you'll be able to see that alignment between Meet and Zoom a little bit better now, once all of those push outs actually happen, hopefully here sooner than later, like in the next week.
yeah, Holly said it perfectly. Yep, how Zoom, I mean, Zoom's been around for years, and that's, you know, that's their bread and butter. That's really all they do is that video conferencing app. So yeah, glad to see. And it just is, hopefully makes your life easier. So right now, some of you who are newbies out there, you know, all of this new technology, you might be stressed, have anxiety, and you don't see how it's going to make your life easier. It's just like anything. The more you use it, it should get easier. And how Google integrates across different apps should be easier for you. Because what was happening with Google Meet back in March and April when we started remote learning, for example, with my son, they said they were going to meet at 10 a.m. And I like to be prepared and, you know, try to help him out while I'm working too. So I said, okay, here's the Meet link. I'm like, oh no, you don't have a Meet link yet. So the teachers couldn't push out the Meet link too far in advance back in March and April, because if the kid had it, they could join it. So Google immediately turned that off, where if the kid had the Meet link, that the child could not get into the meeting room until the teacher was there. So it, you know, if the teacher's prepping for their lesson, then they had to go and create a link to send out to the students in Google Classroom. That was extra work. So now it's integrated nicely. Kids, like Mindy said, kids can't join into the Google Meet until the teacher's there. So here on slide 21, we've got some other extensions here. So some of these extensions are what Google's going to integrate into Google Meet. Some's on the free version, some's on the enterprise account. So don't panic, you know, like the nod, raising your hand. I think that was going on the enterprise account, but we can still get that extension here for free on the Google Meet side. So again, if you want to see some of these in action, go and take a look at a YouTube workshop or video to learn about some of these. So all of these have links. If you click on them, it links to the extension if you want to learn more about it. This was pushed out a while back, maybe even May or June. And so we're seeing, here's what they're coming out with, but some of this, again, on the free account and on the enterprise account. And Jaylana, can you say your name again? I think I messed it up.
Jelena.
Jelena, okay, thank you. And you asked a great question. In chat, do you see that she asked about, would Zoom be a better platform? I will tell you, honestly, I prefer Zoom because that is what I'm used to. I've started to do some Google Meets with Jaylana, and I think I'm saying your name wrong again. I apologize. And Mindy, and I think there were a couple other people in there too, and we did a Google Meet and we played around with it. Again, hopefully you will get more used to it, and it will be easier for you to work with the more you do it. But if you're not meeting with students from your Google Classroom and you've got Zoom available to you, yeah, I like Zoom. What's other people's opinions on Zoom versus Google Meet?
I'll interject. I didn't realize I was off mute the whole time. Sorry, I'm multitasking here, so I'm shutting my video off so I can keep getting, you know, the life of us all at this point with remote learning.
Yeah.
The biggest thing too, in response to that question, and what you need to think about, Zoom is awesome, but Google Meet will be pushing out many of the features that Zoom has. Across the board with how many people can join the meeting. Like I said, those background features, the waving of the hand, being able to mute everyone, ending the chat for everyone so kids aren't able to log back on. So the one thing that personally me as a teacher mind, I would choose Meet over Zoom, even though right now I like Zoom over Meet, but I would choose Meet over Zoom starting the year, because then in September, when Meet pushes out all of this, I won't go back and then teach my kids Zoom and then change the platform. So something to think about is with especially really any age groups, whatever video conferencing you push out at the beginning, you do want to stay consistent with that because there's already going to be so many changes this year for kids. So that's just something to think about. So if you can kind of be patient, I would choose Meet only because there's multiple ways for students to get there, including Classroom if you're using Classroom and it's embedded within Classroom, where Zoom is not an option in Classroom for kids to choose that. And they can also access the Meet from the Google Apps waffle, where you can't do that with Zoom. So that's just something to think about if that helps some of you in that decision of what do I use, Meet or Zoom, Zoom or Meet. Just know that Google Meet will be pushing out some of the majority of those Zoom features. So not to contradict Lisa, just something to think about, but I do prefer Zoom over Meet as of today.
Yeah, you're not contradicting me, Holly. So no, that's perfect. So again, some of the questions there about Zoom versus Meet, I know, help me out here if anybody knows. A teacher told me that they were able to copy this Meet link to other students that weren't in the classroom. I haven't personally tried it, so to help with Jaylana's question there that she's got doing the blended learning, and she's going to be meeting with several students that aren't in the same classroom. So, you know, if you can copy this link to give to all of the other students that aren't in that classroom, you could try it that way. I did have a teacher say it worked for them. I personally haven't tried that to see if I could get people into this link that's not in my classroom, but that could be a way.
You can share that link, especially with parents. So if you're having a parent meeting, that link can be shared, but just be mindful that you don't want that link being shared too often, because you don't want students bombing your meetings, which is a possibility. Also, speaking of that, Google Meet is offering that new feature, pushing it out as Zoom has, which is able to block the Meet. So basically, once your Meet starts, kids can't then join in. If you say at 8:10, if you're late, you're out. Or if you're having a parent meeting, you can lock that meeting so other people can't join, as one of the features that they're pushing out, which is really nice. So we did try that last week to see if we could use that link to share, and that you can do that.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Holly. And kind of adding on to what Holly said there, then, you know, I think some of you were in the Google Meet with me last week, and how you can remove students and then students can join back in. Well, after 2 times of a student being removed from the Google Meet, Google's pushing out that student can't join back in to the Google Meet. So that's kind of nice to know as well, because in case of the students being obnoxious or whatever, and you've removed them, you don't want to have to keep removing them. So Google's pushing that out as well. So as you can see, all of these updates, it's constantly changing with Google Meet. All right, great conversation there on the Google Meet. Thank you, Holly, for jumping in. If you've got more questions, feel free to put it in the chat there. The next thing I want to talk about here in Google Classroom is the quiz assignment. So if I go into the classwork tab and I go and create an assignment and it's a quiz, what I can do, how I usually go and create assignments, even if it's a quiz, I go to assignment. I don't even go to quiz assignment. The reason I don't is because I usually have my quiz assignment already created, and I don't need to create it here within Google Classroom. So I can just go to create assignment, and as soon as I put in a form here, I'll just put form right there. I'll put today's date, just for my reference, and I go to add, and I pull it from my Google Drive, and I pull up a form that I have turned into a quiz. Let me just search for it real quick here. So here's a Google form I have, and I go ahead and insert it. What's nice about this then, it looks just like it was if I did the quiz assignment. I just don't have the blank quiz here. I can turn lock mode on Chromebooks from here. I could have turned it on from the settings in a Google form as well. And then I can turn grade importing on. If for some reason this grade importing won't let me move this at all to turn it on or off, you'll need to check one of these things. Make sure that the form is set to one response per user, that it's collecting email addresses, and it restricts responses only to your Google domain. So if I don't have that set up that way, this may be not, it may not allow me to turn it on. So I have that here, some of the things right here that you need to make sure on your Google form to do. And then once you do turn that on, what will happen then, here's a Google form. Once it's completed, then what all you have to do is hit import grades. And when you click on import grades, the grade from the Google form then will go into your Google Classroom. So that saves you one step from having to go to the Google form and then take their quiz grade and then enter it into Google Classroom. So let me go ahead and pull up that Google form here.
Lisa, I'm going to interject. So Kelly, does lock mode not allow them to search the internet? So yes, that is correct. When you are in, the reason why they do that is for when you're taking a quiz in Google Form. So Google Form is a great platform for quizzes. When you do that, it will lock your screen so kids then can't go and open a new web browser. So yes, you're totally right. Lisa, just before you continue, there were two questions. One about before we keep continuing, and I think everyone will have this question. In Jamboard, can you use expressions, math expressions? I'm trying to find out where the question is, math expressions in Jamboard. And if anyone wants to share, I'm trying to kind of look at that. I don't have a lot of experience with Jamboard yet. It hasn't become an expertise of mine just yet. So Lisa, can you answer to that at all?
Yeah. So what you can do here in Jamboard, and Holly, you know, she says she's not an expert in that, but hopefully we don't feel like we have to be experts in all of these different apps. There's a lot of knowledge. So again, don't be hard on yourself. Holly, don't be hard on yourself thinking that you have to be an expert at all of these different apps out there. So how I work with Jamboard is, you know, it's a whiteboard, and I just write down anything that I need. If you see here, I've got a lot of these stand-up copies here. I need to go back and delete some of those, but let me just go here to the plus sign. And so it brings up my digital whiteboard. So if I was teaching to the students, I could be on my Google Meet, I could share my screen, I could still see some of the students off to the side. They could still see me while me sharing my screen. And here with the whiteboard, I can just come here to the pen, you know, select whatever color I want, and then I could type. So doing equations, then I said type, but I mean, I'm just using my mouse. If I had a touch screen, I could draw on it with my finger, or if I had a stylus, if I'm, you know, putting in a math equation, I'm just using my mouse and putting in the math equation right here. So
is there a way to have formulated math expressions there, Lisa, so they're not just handwritten notes, or is it just like that? Like I see someone said there was the option for Google Docs, Equatio.
yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. So I don't know, have you used that in Jamboard, or is that just for Google Doc?
Yeah, as of right now, I haven't seen where it's incorporated.
Okay.
I could be wrong, I don't know. But right now what you can do, you could use the pen, you could use a sticky note and type on here, but I have not seen where there's other extensions that people have created to do a math formula. If anybody wants to.
Sarah, with that option with the sticky note, you may be able to copy and paste it from Equatio or from a Google Doc in there if you wanted to.
Right. I was actually looking for something where I would be able to do brackets and braces and exponents and something that's a little bit more advanced in algebra.
Yeah.
And the only thing I found so far is Equatio, which I know is compatible with Google Docs, but it doesn't seem to be, I haven't been able to find anything else. So I was hoping I could find something that would be incorporated with Jamboard, so I wouldn't have to go back and forth between different windows. But for now, I have Equatio as a backup because I don't think Jamboard is offering more elaborate expressions right now unless we write it out, but sometimes the writing can be a little sloppy. I tried stylus pen, but I didn't have any luck there either.
Okay. Yeah, and Jamboard is a fairly new app, so they haven't, you know, I see within this next year that they're going to push out a lot more features to it than what we have right now, since we are doing a lot more virtual and remote learning.
And Lisa, you do have one more question here. We have someone, James wants us to touch a little bit more on Google Forms. I don't know if that's something that we can maybe save towards the end, as that's a whole nother app. But I just didn't want to, you know, neglect his question there.
Perfect, thanks. And I might talk about it a little bit here with talking about the settings and turning it into a quiz. So yeah, great. And then Ashley asked, can you go to large group to small groups in Google Meet? They are going to have breakout rooms. And if I go back to that update, the breakout rooms are going to come later in October, and they're pushing it out on the enterprise account. So the answer to that is no. As of right now, who knows, they could change this, but it's not like Zoom where you can have the large room to the smaller room. So maybe let Google know that you would like that in the free account. Another question here that Jaylana asked was, can a student from another Google Classroom join a meeting? And again, you can give them, as long as they have the link that you shared with them, then they can access that Google Classroom Meet link as well. So let me jump over here to the forms and talking about that. If you go up here to the settings, so again, hopefully some of you who have been using Google now for a few months, you're getting used to how Google has the gear for settings, the 3 dots for more options or a menu. So if I go in here to the gear, this is where I can change the settings. Right now it's telling me these settings are turned off because locked mode is on. So again, just like if, you know, when you administer MAP test or any of the tests that you have to administer for state or federal government, where the kids can't access other tabs. I think Holly talked on this as well, that it locks it down. Now, does it lock it down from other devices if they have it sitting around them? No, they're not locked out of their phone. They're not locked out of other laptops or computers around them. It just locks their screen that they can only access that tab. So when they are in this workshop example that was pushed out to them during or through Google Classroom, they can't go to other tabs to Google any questions or answers. So how do you get all of this on? If you go here to quizzes, I could turn it on in Google Classroom like I just showed you, and don't panic if you forgot. Here's another place. So when I made this a quiz, I can turn on lock mode. If I don't make it a quiz, I don't have that option for lock mode. And again, what lock mode does is even during virtual or remote learning here, if the kids are working on a quiz and you're pushing it out to their Chromebook, it has to be a managed Chromebook from the school district for locked mode to work on. So for example, my son, before we had remote learning earlier this year, my son was home sick one day from school. Well, he had Google Form, which the teacher had made it a quiz. I don't know if it was or not, but had turned on making it a quiz so that the lock mode was on. Of course, he didn't bring home his Chromebook, so he tried to access this from another device here in our home. He could not get on, he could not access this because he wasn't accessing this through a managed Chromebook from the district. But what's nice about this, when you do make this a quiz, then it automatically, this is a new setting Google Form pushed out. I don't know exactly when, but it wasn't there probably a couple months ago. So as soon as you make this a quiz and you turn lock mode on, it automatically does this. It restricts the user to your Google domain. It collects their email address. It limits it to one response, okay? So you don't have to worry about making sure that you've checked all of this. It kind of lets you know, hey, warning, these settings are turned off because locked mode is on, and this is what is expected in locked mode. So if you want in locked mode, then this will help you import the grades from Google Forms into your Google Classroom when you import them. So if you go up here to quizzes, it's make this a quiz. So where did I go to get all of this? I'm in a Google form. I don't have to make it a quiz until later, but I can, fill out the questions on here that I want. Then I come up here to the right of the screen and go to the gear. The gear is your settings. You've got 3 different tabs here: general, presentation, and quizzes. So if I turn off locked mode, watch what happens to general. I don't have that warning up there anymore. So I do have choice. If I don't want to collect their email address, I can turn that off. If this is a form that I don't mind the kids answering more than once, again, I can turn that off to limit to 1 response. So I can turn it off here, but the minute I go back here to quizzes and turn on lock mode here, if I go back to general, it grays that out. I don't have that option to turn those on or off. So again, there's a learning curve here. You won't remember everything, or maybe some of you will, but as you are working and trying to put this in Google Classroom, if this grade importing, if for some reason it doesn't let you turn that on or off, check to make sure that you've turned maybe lock mode on. And then as soon as you turn lock mode on the back end, Google does all of this for you. They didn't do this, I want to say even within the last month, they didn't do this. So this was a new change. So that is about Google Forms, about importing the grades. So if you're not worried about importing the grades into your gradebook on Google Classroom, you don't have to worry about having the grade importing on.
Google Lock Mode will not work on iPads, PCs, or Macs, just so you know. So basically, in order to use Lock Mode, it does need to be in a Chromebook, FYI. There was a question, and I know that there's other people that probably have that. So, which if someone's taking a test from home and they go on their PC versus their Chromebook, there's a workaround. But then again, a kid could also, if it's an older kiddo, they could just also use their phone if they're not visibly in front of you. So, remote learning.
Yeah. Thanks, Holly. While she was talking there, I looked over at chat, and I haven't been able to see everything in chat, but I just saw where James asked, can you print a Google form? So again, right here at the 3 dots, I go down here, and this is where then I can print, and it'll show you the preview of what will be printed. So yes, to answer your question, Jane. So also right here, the 3 dots, if I want to add collaborators to this, I can. There's other add-ons, again, preferences. So I can go and take a look at any of this stuff here. Undo, the undo button is under the 3 dots. I would like to see this undo button right here where some of these other icons are, but that's not the case. And then this Google form, if for some reason I'm creating a Google form and I don't need to send it out in Google Classroom, if I click on send right here, I can email this, put a person's email here, give a subject, invited to fill out the form, and include the form in the email if I want. I can come and get the link here and put it in an email or push it out wherever I would like. You can shorten the URL here. I will tell you sometimes if you do push out this link to other people that aren't inside your domain, there's been some issues with them being able to access it via the shortened URL. So most of the time I just copy it. I don't shorten the URL. I just might hyperlink it so that all they would have to do is click on it to get to the form. So again, here's another spot to add collaborators here. So got some other options up there. Again, I know I did a workshop on Google Forms and it's on the YouTube channel. Feel free to take a look at that, or if you trying to think of other resources out there, go and Google it, and lots of people are putting different little videos out there explaining Google Forms. So if we have more time, more than welcome to go into Google Forms. All right, so settings. We kind of talked about that earlier when Mindy talked about making the Meet link visible in Google Classroom. So here on slide 28, it talks about some of the settings. If I go up here back to the gear, this is where you can manipulate your settings. So here's what Mindy was talking about earlier. And then what else can you change here? You can change how the students interact in the stream. So right now I've got it where students can post and comment. I can turn it on where only students can only comment, that they can't start a post, or where they can't post or comment at all. During remote learning, some teachers gave it a try to let the students talk back and forth here on stream. So right here, since I have it turned on, Molly posted a comment here, then I could have replied back to her. And sometimes, you know, as the, you could use a stream as where you greet your students, and then, you know, they can greet you back, kind of similar to chat. Or sometimes you could have it where students, I'm trying to find one, where students talk about, and I don't see it, that they need help, or, you know, I don't understand this assignment. So again, this is another place for them to get help and not always relying on the teacher for help. And especially, you know, if the kids are on at 11, 12 o'clock at night and they need help because this assignment's due the next day, if other students are on at the same time, then they could see and maybe they could answer and post back to that student to help that student out. Another thing here in stream is the classwork on the stream. Again, just like we're trying to give students choice in what they do for some of their learning, where Google gives teachers choice. Right here, classwork on the stream, where it says show condensed notifications. So anytime the teacher for this classroom, which is me, that I post a new assignment, there's a condensed notification. If I don't like that notification, I can hide it on the stream. I could also, if I wanted it to show attachments and details, I could do that. I like just the condensed notification. It just is another place the students can say, oh, the teacher posted a new assignment this morning, and I can go take a look. And as far as the teacher, then I can see, oh, I assigned this to one student. If I forget which student I assigned it to, I can click there and it shows me, oh, I assigned it to Blake. So that's kind of nice to see who you assigned it to. Now you might be thinking, well, do the kids, let me open up Blake's account here, and let me pull it over here. So there we go. So what does Blake see? So Blake just sees that, oh, the teacher posted a new assignment. So this is the student view. They don't see what students got that assignment. So they just see that he got a new assignment. He can click here and go into the assignment to see that. If not, he can just go to classwork and click on it too. So again, some teachers like that, some teachers don't. You've got the choice of how you want your stream to set up.
So Lisa, to interject, I am on the other side of Lisa. So, I mean, this is like the perfect sense of duality between the two. For me, I'm coming from a high school background, at least, and even for the littles. For me, I never have the condensed version on when I go to stream and settings or classwork and settings. I always have it as do not show classwork on stream. For me, especially with remote learning and when participating in that back heavy force back in March, if you have that as show condensed or it on the stream, meaning your class announcements are on the stream, your classwork, students will be getting announcements on the stream and classwork. So for me and the way I organize is you have a tab for announcements, which is the stream, and then you have a tab for classwork. And for me as a teacher, I would tell a student, hey, good morning, this is what we're going to do, or hey, it's someone's birthday, make sure to wish them a happy birthday. Make sure you check out the classwork for today at the classwork tab. So then kids will get into that muscle memory of knowing, okay, I check the announcements as our daily, and then the stream, or I'm sorry, check the stream for the announcements, and then the classwork just for classwork. But that's me because I tend to get overwhelmed with sensory. So I have to keep things in all concrete places, just as a caveat to that. So like Lisa said, I mean, it's amazing that we have preferences and you can organize things how you do. I will add a tidbit here. There was some research done from when teachers really went remote in the spring, and they said that with the remote learning, when organizing your folders, and Lisa, if you can go to your classwork tab, I don't know how you have your classwork. So here with Lisa with the icons with the to your right where it says 8-4-20, these are all of her topics. They do say that if you organize your topic by weeks with remote learning, it's a little bit more accessible for students, because then you can put all of the work from week 1 with the dates. So then if a student is absent, hypothetically for 2 weeks, you can basically communicate to that student or the teacher or the parent, hey, you need to go back and look through all the classwork under the classwork tab in topics 3 and 4. If we weren't in remote learning, I definitely would probably say there's different ways of organizing that may be more productive if the kids are in front of us. But with remote learning, it was said that one of the a productive way for organization and consistency was to do it by that week feature. It does get a little tricky for people with standards-based grading, because then with standards-based grading, there's a whole nother way that you can organize your topics by your standards. So you have options. I hope that didn't confuse some of you. It just helps, to organize that. With that study, is it better to short?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks, Holly.
Yeah.
So like she said, you've got choice in the matter. And yeah, I'll kind of go off of what she just said there. All of the teachers that I've worked with here face-to-face over the course of probably the last 3 weeks, they all said when they went remote, they did change the topics to, by week, the week of August 7th, the week of August 14th. So hopefully that, again, you've got choice in how you want to do it. And that's why it's so important, that kids, if they have different teachers or they had Google Classroom last year, take time to explain how you've got your classroom set up, especially if you've got the stream set up with notifications or without notifications. Can you turn those on and off at any time? You sure can. So while Holly was talking, I went in, I turned off the notifications of the classwork on the stream. You do what works for you and your students. Just make sure you communicate that with your students, especially if a student was in a classroom last year with another teacher who put the notifications on announcements. Another thing here with classwork is, earlier I said the workaround for originality reports. So if you're using Google Classroom all year long, as you can see, you may get a lot of material in here. It can be overwhelming for you and the students. So the workaround with that is create a new classroom every quarter. And again, you don't have to, that's just an option. And if you create a new classroom every quarter, then your classwork page right here, it won't be so full. Because could you imagine if a kid had to scroll down and see all of this information here? And you know, they can't find what they're looking for. And like Holly was saying, for topics, some people put it by chapter, some people put it by subject. Again, if you teach multiple subjects, sometimes what some teachers do is they create a classroom for each subject. Again, you do what works for you. There's no right or wrong answer here. But then this way, all of their science was in the science classroom. All of their math was in the math classroom. If you choose to do one classroom, you could put science here. And when you click on science as the topic, it just takes them here. The only thing that's right here is the science information. If they go to math, they can just click on math and they go to the math information. If they click up here on all topics, then they will have all topics there. So, and then if you do create new classrooms every quarter, how many originality reports will you have each quarter then, if that's important to you? Anybody want to unmute and say, or put it in chat? Okay. So each quarter, yeah, so some good guesses there. So each class that you have 5 originality reports. So if you create a new classroom each quarter, then you will have 5 originality reports every quarter. So that's the workaround of not having unlimited originality reports. But, you know, if you are teaching multiple subjects out there and you just create your science for all year, that is fine. Again, you do what works for you.
I will say with that, just make sure if you're in a, especially an elementary team, if you want continuity across your teams, or even high school or middle school, this is one of those notes just to write down and see how your team is going to organize topics, because this is now the time for the first time all of our students, for the most part, if your school is requiring classroom, that our students have multiple classroom. It's just not 2 teachers using classroom. It's now possibly 6 or 7 if you're in a middle school, a high school, or how your teams are created. So for continuity, or if there's multiple students, if a parent has multiple children in one district or one school with different teachers, it is very affirming as a parent and a student that there's continuity across the board and how that is organized. So that was one of the major complaints from parents when things went remote, is just how one teacher is doing something totally different. Yes, you have autonomy, but if you work closely and have a good working relationship, definitely open that communication up and say, hey, you know, are we going to come up with a general way of organizing topics? Or classwork on the stream is another one. So when kids go into multiple classrooms, there's just that consistency. So something just to jot down to maybe have a communication with.
Yeah, good point, Holly. I don't know if this was answered. Mindy asked about creating an assignment and assigning it to multiple students or classes, just like you can on announcements in the stream. Right over here where it says 4, I'm in my Google 101 class. So the assignment will be pushed out to that class. But if I want it to be pushed out to multiple classes, what I can do is come over here to the right hand of the screen, and I can come down here. These are all my Google Classroom. So if I want to have this pushed out to my other classes, I can click on them. It says 3 classes. So the thing about this though, when it says 3 classes here, do you see what happens to all students? That is grayed out. So I lose that feature. So if I know that I want to send this to certain students, I would have to do this 1 class at a time, but then I could reuse the post. So if, again, I could uncheck that and then just do whatever students I needed from here, and then just go and reuse the post. But if I don't, if I want to push it out to all students in all 3 classes, I can do that. And then the other thing here, when you do push it out to more than 1 class, if you come up here to the drop down where it says assign, oh, it's not letting me assign yet because I don't have a title. And I think, yeah, I just froze there. So if it lets me back into Google Classroom, I've never had this happen. Let me just go into a new tab and see if that works. Are you guys hearing me okay, or I wonder if I'm having internet issues? Thumbs up, okay, so perfect, thanks. So I don't know what happened there. So I just closed out of it and I'll just go back into Classroom. And then, so if I go back to my Google 101 class then, and I go back to assignment, when I'm creating that assignment, make sure I need to have a title. I'll just put title there. And then I can go and select several classrooms here. And then when I hit assign, I can't schedule it. If I look here, schedule is grayed out. So two things you need to remember. If you do assign it to multiple classes, all students is grayed out and the scheduling is grayed out. You can't schedule it. But the workaround you can do is you could reuse that post if you're in another classroom. So if I go to create and reuse post right here, I could reuse a post from another classroom. It brought me up to my Enter to G Suite classroom, but if I have other classes, I just hit the back arrow there, and here's my other classes. If I want to even reuse a post for my archived class, I can click on that and reuse a post even for my archived class. And when I reuse a post, if I just click on the post I want to reuse, I also have this checked. It creates new copies of all attachments. You want to have that checked so that it does create new copies. And then it's reusing. It brings me up to the assignment page. So here, if I need to add anything else, I can then put a due date, points. I can change everything like I just did for a regular assignment, but I don't have to go and take the time of adding all of the files here that I need. Again, you have the same options. If I click on assign, I can schedule it, save it as a draft as well. So if I just close out of it, it's saved as a draft by me just closing out of it and I didn't put a draft. So at any time I can just go and click the three dots. I can go back in and edit it, or I can just delete it. And then it says, hey, are you sure you want to delete it? And then these icons right here, if you see, if it's material, it's this picture. If it's an assignment, it's the clipboard. And then if it's kind of grayed out there, it's a draft. So you will get used to, you know, the different ways you can create it in this, create here in classwork. If I have questions, here's what questions look like. It's a question mark. So if you haven't tried that, go into the create and try some different options there. All right, another thing is the calendar. What's nice about this, every time you create a new classroom, on the back end, Google creates a calendar for that classroom. You can open up the calendar two different places. You can go right here under the classwork tab and go to Google Calendar and access it there, or you could just go to the calendar app. I always have it pinned up here, and I can see, then I can click on the different classes. So on the left-hand side here, I have all of my Google calendars for my classrooms. So if I'm done with the classroom and I've archived it, I can delete the calendar off of here. If I click the three dots, what I can do, I can go to settings and sharing, and I can delete this calendar. I can also export the calendar if I want, or another tip here for the calendar is you can make this calendar available to the public and share it with your parents. So here's yet another way the parents can see what the students are doing in Google Classroom. So right here under the three dots, you can access your permission, make it available to the public, or just get a shareable link and push that out to the parents if you so choose. So you've got, you know, other options here if you need to to remove the calendar right here. You can unsubscribe to it, or you can delete it permanently if you've archived the class and you don't need access to the calendar. So where did I go for that? I went into my calendar. Again, I can go into my calendar from this link right here. And then I clicked on the 3 dots. The 3 dots have more options. I can go to settings and sharing. I can change the color of my calendar here. So, but settings and sharing, there's a whole lot more under the settings and sharing. So take a look at that. Rubrics. Again, what's nice about this, you can attach a rubrics right to the assignment. So the kids don't have to go to another folder to see how you're going to grade this assignment. So again, if I go back to my Google Classroom and I go into, let me just go into this All About Me, and let me go in and edit that. Even though I didn't put the rubric in at the beginning, so this is an assignment, whether it's brand new or you're going back to edit, right here I can go to rubric and I can create a rubric from here. I can reuse a rubric, or I can even import it from Sheets. So if I want to reuse a rubric, let me go and pull up a rubric here. Let's see what the sharks one is. Click on the sharks and I'll hit select. And then it puts it right there. So if I click on it, then I can see what the rubric is. So this one was a math one. So I've got 3 points for excellent, 2 points for satisfactory, 1 for incomplete. If I need to put another criteria here, what I can do, even though this is pushed out to the students, I can still go back in and edit it. I could delete it, or I can even export it to Sheets. So if I go back in and edit it, I can change it if I need to, even though I'm reusing it. If I want to change the points, watch what happens to my total points here. So if I go down to this criterion, I can either duplicate it or delete it, but I know I can edit it. Why? What am I doing? Oh, I need to change my points right here. So if I change my points right here, I changed it to 4, 3, whoops. It automatically updates my points right here and right there. Okay. So again, you can change it at all time. If you need to, you choose the level title here, you choose a description here. I've got the 3 dots here. I can delete this level if I need to at any time. If I need to add another level, I could add another level to this by hitting the plus sign, and it adds another level to it.
Lisa, what's that toggle for you scoring mean?
Oh, you scoring. If you don't want any points, then any point values you've added will be permanently deleted. Yeah. So if you just want a rubric for them without the points, if you're standard space grading and you don't use points, but you're using words, that's what you could put. You could just turn off the scoring there. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, great question.
Thanks, Lisa.
And then as you can see, I can at any time add more criterion to this. So again, in the beginning, it may take a little extra work setting up, but then once you have it, you can reuse it from year to year, from class to class. So you've got that option to use rubric. So then on the student side, what does the student see? Then this was the All About Me. The rubric is right here. So it real time, it updates the student's account. So Blake could see the rubric from right here and see, okay, hey, this assignment's worth 18 points. This is how I'm going to get my points. And he sees how he's going to be graded. So there's no guessing in what the teacher is wanting for this assignment. Plagiarism, originality reports, I already talked about, but again, here's a little bit of information. What it does is when you do run this, whoops, it highlights, I don't know if you can see this very well on this screenshot I took, it highlights any information here that is not put in the child's own words. it then lets them know what web page that they got it from, that they found it word for word, and then it'll flag even missing citations if you need those. So with the report, the students run this on their end before they turn it in. And then it lets the teacher know that they've ran the originality report. It's saying 2 flagged passages over here on the right-hand side. This is just a screenshot from Google Classroom, okay? The originality report is good for 45 days. And as you can see, I'm still calling it originality report, but again, Google put the word plagiarism on the Google Classroom side of it too, but put originality in parentheses. So if you want to, here's a link that you can learn more about the originality reports. But it's nice. It's not you catching them cheating. It gives them a chance to run it themselves. Hopefully then, if they need help rewording it, putting it in their own words, they'll reach out for help, change it, and then turn it in so that when you run it, then there will be no issues of plagiarism. All right, a couple other questions I saw here is in Google Classroom that, oh, I just forgot what the question was. I saw, can you post videos as assignments? You sure can. And then there was another question about the grading, and I will show that too. So right here where it says add, I can go here and even add a YouTube video or a video that I have a URL link for, the web address for the video, I can paste right here. If not, I can go and search a YouTube video, and I'll search for Gary. And once I search, let's say I want this one, I just need to select it. Do you see how the blue rectangles around it, and hit add, and then it added the video here. Okay. If I don't want it anymore, I can click X and get out of it. Okay. On with the grades here. So what's nice about this is you can see, it's kind of like a grade book. You can see how, what points you assign the students. You can see, like, on some of the assignments, if you don't push it out and assign it to every student, it shows who it's not assigned to. And here it shows who it's assigned to, if the child's turned it in or not, if it's missing, if you still need to grade it. So if you graded it, it will show a grade there for them. So if at any time, if I want to go into this, there's a couple things I can click on. I can click on the student over here, or if I keep scrolling over, I was going to try to find an assignment that had a lot of scores on it. Okay, I'll just pick this. I'll just pick this one. So if I click on this fractions addition, what it's going to do, it's going to bring up who's turned it in and who it's been assigned to. You can sort it by, right now I've got all, but if I want to see who it's been assigned to, here it's been assigned to these students. If I want to see what students I've graded it, I can see, oh, I graded this one, okay? If I want to see all of it at once, I can see all of it at once. So even if they haven't turned it in, at any time I can go right here and click on Wendy's and see what she's done. So this will then let me know, oh, it's bringing up Blake's. It'll show me what they're working on here. So, oh, since she has no attachments, I can't see anything yet. But if you push something out to make a copy, you can see real time what they're working on. So let me go back to a different one here. That's make a copy. Let's see. Okay, so this one I made a copy. So here real time, zero's been turned in, but I can see what they've done. So if I look at Molly's, I can see what Molly's been working on here. Now, what I can do you see I have a rubric attached here? So when I have a rubric attached to assignment, I can just come over here and based off of the rubric, I can give the points based off of this to Molly. And if I want to see how I'm grading, I can just click on each of the criterion here. And oh, on this problem, she got a perfect. And then it updates her score right here, real time for you as well. So then right here, it's saying she got a 2.22 out of 8. So here's the thing. You've got to make sure that these points match your rubric. If they don't, it's easy. You can change it. Couple different ways you can change it. One way right here, you can change it. If I click on those 3 dots, I can change the total points and I can put it out of 18. So if I do that, then you can see, then she should have an 8 out of 18. So, or no, I'm sorry, a 5 out of 18 so far. So let me refresh it. And, oh, it's not changing for some reason. Okay, it's making me a liar. I don't know, I'll look into that, but okay, there we go. I just had to put another score in and then it changed. So another thing right here. So here I can grade it right here on this screen. And then I can also, where it says see history, I can see the history of this file. So when it was assigned to her, when I graded the draft, so she hasn't even turned it in, but I could still put a grade on it. And then it shows that I've changed the total points and I've changed the grade on hers. So again, sometimes kids forget to turn it in or don't realize that they have to hit the turn in button. So if you want them to get into the habit of turning it in before you grade it, you might have to take time to explain that. But then also if I see that, you know, I'm just kind of looking at what Molly's done and I'm not worried about grading, then if I come down here, I can put a private comment in here for Molly. I could also, let's say it's a private comment or it's a comment I say a lot. If I look at this icon right here, this comment bank, if I click on the comment bank, I have comment banks here that I can click on this. So let's say I want this comment in there. I just copy it to my clipboard, go back to the grading icon, and then I can post or paste and then post this comment there for Molly to see. And where would Molly see that? She would see that on the student side of her assignment. So I don't have a student side for Molly, but I'll bring up Blake here then. If Blake went into viewing this assignment, I didn't post it for Blake, but he would see, okay, so this one, I do have a private comment for him. Here's a private comment Blake only sees, the class doesn't see, and then he could even post a private comment back to me from right here. Again, this is between the teacher and I and the student. And sometimes you might have to let the students know that you posted, you know, to look here, to look at for comments. Can they get email notifications for comments? They can if they have it turned on in Google Classroom. And to turn on those settings, if you come up here to the 3 lines and you go to the settings, here's where they can turn on email notifications. So some kids may say, well, I don't get those notifications to my email. Have them check out their main menu. It's the 3 lines here in settings to see if they have that turned off. They have it turned off, Blake wouldn't get any notifications via email. So he would have to solely rely on his Google Classroom. Again, just like how Holly likes to have her notifications hidden. Again, you've got the choice, you as a teacher and the student, you have choice of what email notifications that you get within Google Classroom.
Every time you make a change on Classroom, so at my old school, I used to teach how to organize Gmail for students. It was one, you know, on creating tabs. That's definitely something that you can create as a lesson in your class. So add that to your lesson book for an activity for a day is how to, you know, and that can totally be related to a standard 100%. But in organizing tabs and labels rather in your Gmail is huge for students, because we're really trying to prep students for success. And the fact that email is so crucial to their livelihood, even after school and past high school. So that's definitely something to add. With the notifications, every time you make a change to that student, or every time you send a comment, not only are they going to be able to see that in classroom, they're going to get an email. From my experience, only mine, it gets to a point where a student will not even look at those notifications if they're in email, and neither really will I, because you're all of a sudden you go from having a clean inbox to 300 emails in the course of a week. It can get really overwhelming, especially when you have multiple classrooms. So if you just have one classroom, it's okay. But if a student's having multiple classrooms, especially in the higher levels, there's multiple teachers, just keep that in mind as an option of what that's going to look like on the student end. And if you do have those notifications, how to teach your students to organize them in Gmail with labels. So.
Yeah, good point. It can be overwhelming. I know personally, I like to have those email notifications turned off, because it does become overwhelming for me. But again, it's an option there if you guys would like to have that on. So again, take time to let this, teach your students about how they can change their settings for their Google Classroom. And I forget who asked the question about that grading. Does that help answer some of your questions you had for grading? Feel free to unmute or.
I think, oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Holly. I know that you can go in and see who's missing the assignment and everything, but what I came up with problems last spring was a student wouldn't ever post anything. And so what I needed was one list with all of their things that they were missing at one time, because it gets really burdensome continuing to go through that whole list horizontally and find all of their missing work. So is there a way to compile, like, this student is missing 1 through 10 and like send that to them or their parent at all?
Yeah, if you see on the screen right here, so if I look at Wendy's, this shows everything she's missing. So, and they have access to this as well. But if I go,
Okay.
I don't know if you saw where I went here. So I clicked on Wendy's name. So this is the teacher view. And if I click on Wendy's name, I have kind of like topics over here. I can see everything, everything that she's turned in, everything that was returned to her, that was assigned to her, or missing here. So if I click on missing, that will show up. So if I switch over to the student side of it, the student can see, they can view their work right here is one place. And then again, they can see themselves, what's missing, what's returned, what's assigned, or all. Will that help, Ashley?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, yeah, you're welcome. Great question. So it's about, even maneuvering around Google Classroom, knowing what you can and can't do. Again, it's not going to happen overnight. So remember to breathe. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat your kids up here about not knowing where, that Google Classroom has all of this. It takes time and years, and then Google changes things. So, great question. All right. The next thing here I want to talk about is how there's other apps out there that integrate into Classroom. I'm looking at the time. Again, this could be a 4-6 hour workshop, but will I start losing some of you? Yeah, I probably already started losing some of you, because this hasn't been as interactive as I would like it to be. Because we just know how we learn that we need breaks and stuff. So what I'm going to do right here is give you a minute to look at some of these apps that integrate into Classroom. And then if I had the ability, I guess with Zoom, I could poll you. I was thinking if you were in my classroom, or if I was in a Google Meet, that I don't think Google Meet would have polling, but I forgot Zoom does. I just have Google on the brain right now. I want you to take a look at these apps, see if there's one that you know you're going to be using here within the next week, 2 weeks, month, and that you want me to talk about and how it integrates into Classroom. If not, I'm going to pick a couple, but I wanted to give the opportunity here for you to do that. And then I also want to show you here on this, this Chromebook App Hub. If you click on this link right here, what's nice about this is this shows you different apps out there that integrate with Google. So there is so much out there. You can filter it by certain categories. Now, granted, some of these apps have a free version and some have a paid version. So again, I don't work for any of these companies trying to sell you and one of these tools over another one. So if you want to, I'll be quiet for a couple minutes here and give you time to look at slide 36 and or, clicking on these different apps. Just see if there's any particular app you for sure want me to cover before we end today. If not, I will cover a couple of the apps.
Just to update while you guys are searching through that, there was a question posted about Jamboard or way earlier in how to get equations, algebraic equations in there. Just to answer that, one of the workarounds is you can screenshot from somewhere else like Equatio or something like that, and then save it in Paint or save it and download it and then upload it in Jamboard. So just to make sure I was clear on that, there's not a way to type them in, but you can't, there is a workaround. It does not seem like it's an easy one though, but I didn't want to leave, that person hanging. I thought maybe it was Ashley, I'm not sure. So just as a side note.
Thanks, Holly.
Lisa, can I ask a quick question?
You sure can, Mindy.
Whenever you were updating Molly's rubric, she was not finished with it, but you were seeing where she was at and you were inputting like different point totals right now. Would you have to hit return to her so she could see that, or can she see you edit that? Does it just constantly update?
I believe you have to hit return for her to see it. We can try it out, but because anytime for the grade, for them to see their grade, oh, sorry, I sat down here. Anytime you see their grade, for them to see their grade, you have to return it.
Okay. Now, she didn't actually send that into you. You just were able to view that through her history, but you can still return that even though she didn't submit it. Yeah.
So let me go ahead. I can play around with Blake's here and we can show you on the student side. I can't see Molly's on the student side, but I can see Blake's. So let me go. So right here, you can see it's in draft and I gave her 8 out of 18. Same thing with Blake. I guess I went ahead and did a draft for him. So let me switch over here to Blake and see that assignment. Let's see. And what, I'm trying to think, was it the All About Me? What assignment was that? I forgot. Yeah, the All About Me, okay. So if I go into that, this is Blake's, and even though he hasn't turned it in, here it doesn't show a grade. It just shows it's worth 18 points. It doesn't update the rubric.
I think on the previous screen though, it did show me, did it show maybe
the teacher side?
The previous screen? Oh, okay.
Molly, you're correct. So this is the teacher side. So here's, it's in draft, but let me go ahead and then go into Blake's and let me, and see another way to organize your Google Classroom is by putting numbers. For me, putting numbers help me try to find the assignment easier. But again, you've got choice that may not work for you. It's showing it's not returned. He hasn't, has he, I don't think he's turned it in, but if I click right here and I return it, the assignment isn't done yet. Are you sure you want to return it? Yeah, I'll go ahead and return it. So then once I return it, then Blake will be notified that he can check any grade you left. But so as you can see, it wasn't even turned in, but you know, I could tell, hey, Blake, hey, if you turn it in like what you have done on it right now, you will get a 7 out of 18. Again,
Okay.
some students in the past, I wouldn't usually grade it until I made them turn it in for them to get into the pattern of they needed to turn things in for me to grade them, because they didn't know necessarily that I could see what they were working on as they were working on it. Does that make sense?
Yes, that does. Also, like with the grade book into Classroom, it displays all the grades. There's no way to say like, I just want to see their math, I just want to see their reading or anything along those lines. Is there?
Good question. Let me pull it back up here. You can sort it by last, first name, but it's sorted by assignment here. I don't know that answer, but it doesn't look like it. Does anybody else know out there?
Sorry, Lisa, I had to use the restroom and refill my water here.
Yeah.
What was the question?
Mindy, go ahead and ask it again.
I was curious, in the grade book option, I'm seeing where it lists everything the kids have done. I was curious, can I just sort it by just the math assignments, just the reading, or just by topics, or?
Let me look into that. I know you can move things around I know the new feature is in topics. You can do things as a hierarchy, you can move them. Let me look into that right now and I'll get back with you here in a second, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Holly. But yeah, just looking at it right now, it doesn't seem, but again, I could see that being a feature being pushed out as more people are using Google Classroom, that Google will work on developing it more. So,
Thank
so
you.
as she's, oh, go ahead, Mindy.
Oh, I was just saying thank you.
Okay. So as she's looking that up, I am going to go ahead and talk about some of the apps here. Might only get to cover one. Someone did put Screencastify in there. So I will talk about Screencastify. How this is integrated into Google Classroom here. I do have a presentation on Screencastify that I went ahead and put in here. If you go to the YouTube videos, you can see a couple presentations that are recorded on Screencastify as well. So how it's integrated within Google is that if you wanted to, you could go ahead and when you create an assignment, you could pull in one of your screencasts that you created. So if I go create an assignment, and let me just type in screencast. And again, I've gotten used to numbering my assignments. If this was, I think I'm on number 13. Okay. And then I go over here to add. I can go to my Google Drive, or I could have copied the link from it too. And I go to my Drive, and I go to my screencast folder. What happens when you allow that screencast extension, when you add that to your Chrome profile, it on the back end creates a folder for you. Every time you take a screencast, it will save it to your Google Drive. So here's all of my screencasts that I have. And what's nice about this then, in my folder here in Screencastify, if I want to, I could, when I'm in my Drive, I could add folders to my Screencastify folder to put all of my math videos in, to put all of my tech tips videos in. So I can organize within my Screencastify folder. So if I want to, I have a hyperlink, if I want to explain how the students need to hyperlink, and I'm doing a screencast of that, I just click on this one, hit insert, and here the kids will be able to view this video of screencasting of how to hyperlink. So again, if that's part of the instructions that, you know, they need to hyperlink their different information within their slide or with whatever document or file that they're using, I could do that. And then they could watch this if they need to. If not, if they don't need it, then I don't have to worry about it. So sometimes what some teachers do is they put the video right along in their assignment if they want, how to hyperlink. Or another tip would be come over here to topics, add videos for topics. So then the student knows to go to the videos topic, and then they can see, okay, this is how to hyperlink. Oh, this is how to sign up for the Google Level 1 exam. This is how to do whatever. So again, your organization of this could be different. Now, some teachers are starting to use their YouTube channel. So again, you can upload your screencast to your YouTube channel and have the kids access your YouTube channel to get all of the recordings and the how-to videos. So pros and cons on doing it any of those ways, no right or wrong way. It's just what you find works for you. So
I think it's pretty honest for us all to know and realize that the first few weeks of school this year, our curriculum is going to be technology curriculum, and getting ready and being okay with that, and just saying, okay, as a teacher, this is new, and part of my curriculum is just teaching technology and not having to worry about all of the bells and whistles, and be okay in that place. With that being said, be mindful that these remote learners are working at home with grandparents, with sitters, with nannies, with parents. Screencastify, you don't have to share your video. Today, I just shared a learning app with Lisa, and Lisa, you'll get it later. Instead of just, I shared it with her and I said, hey, you should use this extension for Seesaw. And instead of having her go and figure that out, or me explaining those directions, which I hate explaining directions, I literally just did a 30-second screencast and just shot it to her and just shared my screen. For students and parents, Screencastify is going to be your #1 ally in the first few weeks. Like right now, getting ready for next weekend or next week, or when you guys start just creating those how-to videos, send them to parents, share them with students, create a folder. This is how you check your email. This is how you do this. This is how you do this. Celebrating birthdays, those wacky weeks when you're dressing up and you're doing remote learning. Don't let your kids miss out on Dr. Seuss week. Send a screencast of you being goofy, or you dressed up in Google Meet. We don't have to have our kids, not have to experience those things. And I love it, even in a high school, all of that stuff. I did find out Mindy's question, Lisa, when you're ready to go back to Google after you finish your thoughts on this, I can just be mindful. I found an answer from Mindy for that, organizing the classwork.
okay, on the grades.
Correct.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, I'll finish this real quick. And yeah, Lindsay, if you want to learn about Screencastify more, if you go to, again, slide 42, and I've linked up my presentation there on Introduction to Screencastify. Feel free to click on that, walk you through it. But again, feel free to go and look at the workshop that I walked you through on using Screencastify if you want the video. If the slide deck works for you, feel free to get the information from here. But right here on this slide, with Screencastify, not only if I am in Screencastify and I've created that screencast, so that one screencast I created was how to hyperlink, right from Screencastify, I can share it to my classroom right from there. I don't have to go into my Google Classroom to do that. So this is how it is integrated right into it. And what we're finding is more apps out there have that integration within Google Classroom, because they're finding, hey, they're getting more people, more traffic to their extension or their app because it's on the Google Classroom platform. So the other thing here, another app I wanted to talk about is Kami. Again, there's a paid version and a free version. When you do sign up for it and you add the extension from the Chrome Web Store, I think it starts off in giving you the premium version for free. And then right up here, it'll say your trial ends in 54 days. So don't panic on that. Here's what you get with your free account, and here's what you get with your teacher plan. So right now, the teacher plan for the Google Classroom integration, that is where it's under the teacher plan that cost. So what does it cost? The basic plan's free, but if you want that integration within Google Classroom, it is $99 per year per teacher. But if your school or district buys it for the staff, there's a custom pricing. They would have to reach out to Cami to see. But what Cami is it allows you to annotate those PDFs, or lets the kids, if you scan a worksheet in and the kids need to annotate it or answer it, it lets them create a text box and write or draw on that that document, that PDF. So again, if you want to take a look at that, as well as you can see here, some other apps that are integrated. I know someone talked about grades. We did discuss grades, but right here I've got some slides here that talks more about grades. Another thing here, I will tell you, the student information systems, some SIS programs out there integrate into Google Classroom that you can pull the grades into your student information system. Skyward always said that it was going to be pushed out, and hopefully a year ago, they said it was going to be pushed out, and was hoping it would be for the start of this school year. It is not out yet if you use Skyward. If you use some others, here's some others that they support. I think Teacher Ease is another one. So again, take a look at that. There is an extension out there for transferring grades into the SIS program. Take a look at that to see if that would work for yours. Again, I've got some additional information here that, of course, in this 2 hours, we won't get through, but hopefully if you want to look at some more of the things, you can. And the Google Innovators, if you're wanting some ideas, Google their name to see what other information that they have. There's lots out there. These are just some that I have followed and learned from as well. So we will circle back around here for grades, what Holly needs to, what she found out about that. But I want to leave you with this because I do want to honor your time for those that need to get off here in a few minutes. But I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better. This quote by Maya Angelou hopefully will help you, that remember to breathe in your journey here of learning technology. You're constantly learning, and hopefully you're constantly reflecting and making the experience better for you and the students in the future. So there's an evaluation here on slide 58. If you can fill that out as well. I think it's 4 questions. So again, appreciate your time with us here today. And Holly, I'll send it over to you.
Okay, so for Mindy or for Lisa, I don't have my shared screen. So go ahead and go to Classroom, and then go to the tab for grades at the very top. So where it says your stream, assignments, and grades.
Do you not see it?
Oh, maybe it's, hold on. Oh, okay, I'm there. So go to your settings. I'm sorry. No, I didn't see it. My screen was too big.
Okay.
I need to attach a monitor to this ProBook. So go ahead and go to settings. Let me move this over so I can see. Scroll down to grading. And then at the very bottom, click add grade category. So this is, you don't have to apply points to it, but if the grade category, you can do essays, writing, and then when you assign your grades, it would go under that grade category. So it would almost start it as a tab, Mindy. And then you don't have to, I think you can assign, like if you're doing total points, but I don't think that applies to it. I think there's a workaround there, Mindy. You may have to play with that, but yeah, if you do no overall grade, I don't think it will have you do that, but it'll organize your assignments into those categories for your grading. Does that help you? Your volume's on, off. I do it all the time.
Sorry. Is there any way to do it by subject versus by assignment type?
I mean, you could do it like she's doing, right? Like Lisa's doing, do it by math. And then when you assign an assignment, you would assign the grade category as math. That's the only workaround I found. I have your name. I'm writing your name down right now. I know what you're wanting on that one whole sheet. Sorry, I'm writing your name down. If I find another workaround, I'll be sure to just send you a screencast.
Okay.
And if I find that, I'll research that today a little more. I just know when I went into my classroom, I knew that that was the option that a lot of teachers use for that grade category in the grade book.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Holly, playing around with this. Yeah, thanks. I played around with this a while back and I just haven't went back to it. But when I put no overall grade, it does make me put points here.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
definitely something that you probably need to play with a little. I think there's definitely a workaround there though. Yeah, because that right there, Mandy, that what Lisa has up is a pretty daunting view. I mean, it's really overwhelming. I will say about grades, I know people are signing off. You know, I will say one thing before people sign off. Thank you for allowing me to join in. I'm still part of the learning curve, so I really appreciate you guys letting me get comfortable with this platform. I will say at the very beginning of the school year, when we have new students enter into our building and it's their first time in an elementary, middle, or high school, you see them and they're lost. You see it on their face, and as teachers, all we do is reaffirm them that, you know, we tell them, keep walking the hallways. The more you find, go to the bathroom. The more you find the bubblers, the more you go to the cafeteria, the playground. In a week, a month, you're going to be able to do this blindfolded. And I really say that to you guys. In regards to platforms, just walk the hallways, just open doors, see what they'll do. As far as like this grading that Lisa's doing, try it, go back, and just experiment. Create a fake account, create another Google account, a demo account, you know, just so you can practice and just sit there for a few hours and just play. You know, you guys can do this. We're all in it together. You're not alone. And because you guys are in this training, you're going to be looked at as experts here soon. I think your colleagues are going to be coming to you being like, what do I do? So I get it. One thing that Ashley messaged in the bar, Google Slides so for Cami to annotate. You can, so Adobe is, like I always say, is the sibling that had 10 siblings and never wanted to share as an adult. I feel like that's the way Adobe is. It is so difficult to work with for me. I will say, coming from a library media specialist background, be very careful of copyright and over the fact that you're going to be sending all of these documents home. So you will have that parent who potentially is a copyright pro that will catch you off guard and say, well, you know, this worksheet is copyrighted. And with Cami and with Ashley as well, you can create a worksheet in the background as the background, and then kids can insert text boxes on Google Slides. So that's one workaround. Just be mindful of that copyright law. I feel like I have to preface that. So just be cautious of that with just putting everything out there, because like our students, we're now putting everything on the internet.
perfect. Thanks, Holly. And is Kelly still on? She talked about Delta Math, or would you like, I don't think she's on. Does anybody else know about Delta Math? Some people had questions about Delta Math. And
I'll
Kelly,
get it right here from Kelly, just posted. I know at the high school, there's high school teachers that the Delta Math is their go-to.
Kelly, feel free. Oh, you are still on. You were just underneath my chat. Do you want to unmute and talk about that? We can hear you a little bit. Okay. No, yeah, we can't hear you right now. So, okay, so she put in there to check it out, how awesome it was. Thank you for sharing that. So that's another thing I like with these workshops is that people do share different things and strategies and tools that work for them, and I get to learn as well. So, okay, and she put the link there. Perfect. Lois, I think I saw an earlier question, but I forgot what it was in chat.
We
Yeah.
have the kids make a diagram of their room and measure things. And it's like a coordinated thing between Art and myself, because then they have to do the library the same way and find things in the library. Is there a drawing program? I looked at Google Docs and I didn't see an easy way to put shapes in, that the shapes were all blue.
Yeah, Lois, great question. Drawings, that was what I kind of referred to at the beginning. A lot of you said you were newbies to drawings, and I just ran out of time to talk about drawings, but drawings is an app that you have within the G Suite apps for education, and this is where they can put shapes in. You can even go out there and search. Some people have made templates that you can use for free. So I know Eric Kurtz, I think I have him in
Yeah, you do.
right here on slide 56. If you go to his website, he's got some free templates. If you go under resources here, he's got under Google Drawings, he's got some ideas how you can incorporate Google Drawings in your lesson, and some templates to use as well. So,
And it's actually called Google Drawings if I look underneath my waffle.
okay, perfect.
Is it? No, I'm asking. Is
Oh.
it called Google Drawings?
I think it's just called Drawings.
Okay.
And you know what? I don't have it under my waffle. I just always type in drawings.google.com.
Okay. Yeah, it's not coming up on the Suite Marketplace, so I'll do that.
Yeah.
So Google,
Just
did you repeat that?
drawings.google.com.
Okay.
You can also access it in Google Docs as well. But if you go to the app, I like going to the app and accessing it there.
That's awesome. Okay.
One of your things to teach your kids, Lois, in regards to that Lisa just said, any of the Google apps, if you just type in the app name, so if you do docs.google.com, it will take you to the docs. If you do docs.new, it will take you to a new doc. So you really cannot do that shortcut where I don't even hardly use my waffle anymore. So like Lois, like that, drawings.google.com or drawings.new. There's a lot of different ways that you can get to that.
That's one of the things I love about Chrome. It's good for all different kinds of learners, because I know we have a thing where we see how many different ways they can get to one thing, and we were up to 8 one time with a bunch of kids, which really makes them feel empowered.
Yeah, there's definitely a universality feature there. So yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
You know, there's positives to remote learning, when differentiation, when having to send different documents. Kids really, with the special ed peeps, kids not, it's not in their face who else is in special ed anymore, or the fact that they're in special ed. There are perks to this remote learning. And I think that if we can all just walk those hallways and really just learn and just be okay with growing, you know, and in a way, I think when this starts to not be so overwhelming, as learners, which we all are, we may look back on this and realize that we learned a lot. And as educators, we don't always have that opportunity. We get in that route of just, you know, pushing out the same information. And we're really all at this place where we're really learning, and we can empathize with our students in a new way on how after a 2-hour Zoom meeting, our brains are fried. Like, we're done. We're like, thanks, lady. Have a good day. You know, our kids feel that way with us all the time. We just forget it. So, you know, look at the positive. Yes, there's a lot of negative, but you guys can do it. You're teachers. You got here for a reason. I mean, this is why you're good at what you do. You're amazing. You're magicians. Just keep the magic flowing, and I know that you can do it, and you're not alone. And the LTC, feel free to reach out to Lisa or I. The LTC has a ton of videos on their website. So look at Lisa's YouTube. I have to create a YouTube. It's one of my learning curves right now. But the LTC has a lot of great videos as well. And like this, a lot of ROEs set up workshops. So throughout the year, if you want to get some PD hours, you can sign up for other ROEs workshops if there's availability in those. So, you know, keep growing. No one ever grew standing still. So let's just all keep moving, right?
Good advice there, Holly. Thank you.
Yes. I also wanted to say thanks to Lisa for the summer. I can't believe that she gets by without a little Camelback for water, and she must have the biggest bladder in the world. She is a good teacher because of that. She can wait till 3 o'clock. That's awesome. Thank you. And Holly, thanks a lot for the perspective too. It's nice to have, you know, I love that you guys are teaming up and getting 2 different perspectives. So thanks so much for today.
Well, thank you, Lois, and good to see you again.
Thanks for joining.
Oh, Holly, maybe we're losing audio on you.
Yeah.
Okay. Lois, if you're still on, I'll show you something else. If you're in a Google Doc here, you can go into drawing from a Google Doc. You can get it from your drive, or you can even go to new and do a new drawing. So you don't have all of the features that if you go into the drawing app, but if you get to it from the doc, let's say a kid needed to put a shape in or something within their doc, and let me just put a color in. If they hit save and close, that will then go right into their doc too. So
show me one more time where to get that from the doc again. Where
yeah.
the drawing.
So if a student would go into, this is Google Doc, then they go insert drawing. They can create a new one from here, awesome. Or they can even go to their drive and pull a drawing in that they have in the app and insert it in.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome, Lois. Mindy, Ashley, I know, Ashley, you talked about Screencastify and chat. Is there anything else you want to say about that, or?
Screencastify was just really nice to use. I have 4th graders, and so it was really nice for them to still be able to see my picture of me talking, and then I used my document camera. Sorry, my brain's not functioning yet. I used my document camera, and that way they could see what I was doing on the document camera. They could see what I was doing on the screen if they needed help with something. So it was just really nice, and they still could see me and hear my voice, and so it was just really nice to use.
Well, good. And how did you overcome the fear of learning something new?
How I learned best, which is I had no choice. So it was like do or die. So we don't make time for these things because we're so overwhelmed with all the other tasks of our job. And so now it's just like we're all forced into learning these things because we have to in order to survive. So, and I just learn it best by doing it and trying it. So it was nice. I even got to make individual videos for my kids and help them edit some of their work and things like that. And it was just helped it to be a little more personalized too.
Well, good. Well, thanks for sharing your experiences. All right, Mindy, do you have any other questions or? Oh,
I do if you have time. So like at the beginning, you always like gather all of our results and see that. How do I go about doing that?
Yeah, great question. So all you have to do, you could take a look at it, the responses. You could take a look at it in the Google form. But personally, how I like to do it, come right here to the view responses and sheets. It's the sheet icon. If I click on that, then that's where I can see real time, live, people filling it out, and I can see the data there in a sheet. And yeah, that's how I did, the one this morning, so.
And how did you go about hiding the individual's names so the kids wouldn't have seen that either?
Well, their names are over here to the left-hand side.
Okay, so just don't project it over. Okay. Just
Yeah, or you could hide columns. So like right here, I could hide this column by hiding column so that they
Okay.
won't see that.
Okay.
Do you want me to go through that again, or did I go that too fast?
I think I've got that.
Okay.
So,
And then I can, right here, it lets me know I hit it. So then to unhide it, click on that. To unhide it, what am I doing wrong? I don't know. To unhide it, there's a way. I guess just right now, while the attention's on me, it's not working.
okay. Earlier when Holly was talking about organizing your Google Classroom into weeks instead of topics, if I have things already in topics, but I've saved them as drafts, then when the week comes up, can I then change the topic underneath that assignment to then bring it up to a week? Would that work okay?
You sure can. Holly, do you want to talk on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. It's my audio iffy right now.
Yeah, it's not
Can you guys hear
working.
me okay?
No.
Okay.
What'd you do to it, Holly? All right. Well, she's trying to fix that here. Oh, now is it my audio messing up too? No, you can hear me fine? Okay.
No, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. So here under the classwork tab with topics, yeah. So when it's saved as a draft, what I could do once I go ahead and assign it. You know what, Holly, could you mute yourself? Do you mind? I'm getting feedback. Okay. Was anybody else getting that feedback too? Or okay, yeah. So who knows what Holly did to her volume there. But so here's the assignment. It was in draft. If I click on it, it brings it up here. I can assign it under whatever topic I want. So I can click it. I can create a new topic. So yeah. Is that what you're asking, Mindy?
Yes, because right now I have everything in subjects, like by topics, math, reading, so on and so forth. And I just have them all as drafts right now, just because this year is going to be so new and I don't know when to schedule out. And I know I can change that, but I'm just I hate to push something out and then take it back and all that kind of stuff. So I just have it underneath subjects. And then I thought, okay, then I'm going to create a tab that says, you know, like August this through this, and then bring each draft out when I'm ready for it per week. But organization wise, I was just going to leave it under each subject area so I know where to look. So
yeah, perfect. And another thing here on screen, as you can see, even though this is a draft, I can drag it and move it around. If I want to put it under farm, I can move it around.
Now the kids don't see that I have a draft underneath something, right? Is it just grayed out for them, or they don't see it at all?
They don't see it at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So hopefully Google will give you a sample student here in the future so you can see what they see. Because usually most districts they won't create a sample student for you.
Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate all your time with everything.
Yeah, no problem, Mindy. Glad you guys were able to join back in today. All right. Holly, are you okay? All right. Well, we will end for the day unless if anybody else has any other questions or comments. And trying to think if there was anything else here. So.
Lisa, will you Google Meet me or Zoom me after this so we can talk about an afternoon session?
Yep, I sure will. I've got to go talk to my youngest son here, and then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just send me it in chat and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks. Bye, everyone. Okay, sounds great. Thanks. Bye, everyone.